really easy to just, you know, give it around the tree that you want to give love to. You take a whole bunch of that stuff, put it down, and it's going to break down quickly. The millipedes will come up and eat it, and they'll excrete their waste, and that's part of the fertility pattern that you can just keep amplifying over and over and over again. This is it also makes a really nice flower. It smells like honey if you let it grow out. You'll love the smell of this flower if you're into flowers. It makes a good cut flower. You can bring it inside, put it in a vase. You know this one, right?
Mexican sunflower.
Mexican sunflower.
They had a bunch of sticks, but they didn't grow. I think I had them too long.
Maybe there's you need ones that are like. Well, usually when you take a cutting, you want to make sure it's got some nodes. See, these are little aerial root nodes.
Okay.
If it's just green, it usually won't root. You need gray. That's what'll take. I have here. This is a new bed, and all the species in here don't need to be mounted. They don't need to be up high. And what I found is that the trees on mounds, the mounds dry out pretty quick, and if you don't have irrigation, that can be a limiting thing for your trees. It would be better if you had more of a valley where the water and nutrients can concentrate in the middle. So I'm kind of flipping the script a little bit on what I've done in the past, and this is more of an agroforestry style planting. Grass that was ground up, it wants to resprout. It wants to just catch roots and go. So what I did was put my mulch down really thick on the little grassy berms to suppress that grass and to give fertility to these plants as they develop. So I'm trying to keep the grass from dominating. Ideally, with the strategy I have, is that the sweet potato is going to be growing out rather than the grass growing in. It's always going to be a balancing act of controlling your edges. Depending on your style, you may be okay with wild edges, but usually if you're in a neighborhood environment, you want a certain aesthetic that your neighbors aren't going to be calling on you and complaining. But what's valuable about these is they grow so fast, and you can prune them down to a stick, like the ones behind you. Like that one you can see where I've popped the top of it off more recently, and it'll just re-sprout all these branches, and you can keep cutting them and re-sprouting them, and they're really easy to pull off and make mulch.
Use it for the wind to blow
for your
off.
bananas. And the fact that you can prune them up means that you can control your canopy a little bit. So what I've been able to do here, which you'll find to be really unusual, and remember, we're coming out of a serious drought. I've got Jaboticaba trees here with no irrigation that are flushing new growth right now. They haven't been watered since I planted them. The reason they're surviving that way is because they have canopy above them. They're being well mulched. They're in a natural farming system, and they could be doing better. But this is a proof of a concept that Jaboticabas can be grown, in a different way. Most people have them either in a big pot with a thing of water underneath them, or they have them dripped on all the time. See how the last leaf on the tip, there's a tip leaf, and this one has a twin leaf. That's one indicator. And then you'll start to just notice them. It's hard to describe all the little things, but one thing about it is when you take the leaf off and sniff it, you'll smell that peppery smell.
Yeah.
You're welcome to have some.
You don't. It's like one of the most healthiest.
It's a little mild bitterness.
Go take your medicine.
Yeah. It's like medicine.
Yeah.
Do you want some?
A little bit in your smoothie every day. Yeah, just take
So the way that I like to consume this,
Try some more.
yeah,
No
you can.
flavor, just
We've got it everywhere, so you can pick as much as you want. The way I like to consume this is to harvest a whole bunch of it and dry it in the dehydrator, and then you can add it to soups and smoothies and whatever. It takes out some of that bitter back of the throat taste. It milds it down a little bit, and you still get a lot of the nutritional benefit. When were you having mulberries?
Really?
When, like March? April? Me too.
Yeah. On a pretty dead tree. It was butchered real
But look at my trees now.
It's good. It's fruiting again.
It's fruiting again.
That's good.
So the reason why it's doing this is because I did what's called a forced dormancy. I cut every branch back by half, and I stripped every leaf off the whole tree.
When? After the fruit?
A few weeks ago.
Oh.
After it already fruited and flushed and had reestablished its canopy, I re-dormancied it, basically. If that's a
Wait
word.
till it comes back. Yeah,
So I found this. There's a guy in the Philippines that grows he explains in the video, like, we don't have a winter. There's no dormancy. Nothing happens. So what I've developed is I do a forced dormancy, and he gets 7 crops a year. It's a variety of mulberry called Illinois. It's one from up north. He's growing in the Philippines, forcing the dormancy and getting. He's making mulberry wine. He's making mulberry jam. So I decided to try that this year, and I tried it on 4 different types of mulberries, and they all worked. I thought, oh, maybe that's just for the everbearing or whatever. This is a Pakistani. The next one, we can look at the next one. The next one's the regular black mulberry that we all have in here. So there's 60 varieties of mangoes. They're all different. I've been collecting them for about 5 years, and I've been really picky about which ones I have. They're the ones either I know I love, or that are new, or I've had people that I respect tell me that they're really good. And I've eliminated ones that are common or that I've already had and know about, because I'm doing this as an evaluation process, and also it's just fun for people to come and taste and have all that kind of stuff. One of my goals is to identify the top 3 to 5 varieties that grow well here, are productive, everyone loves the taste, don't have any issues, and take that onto a different scale, to a commercial or semi-commercial scale. I've got other farms that I'm talking to. There's a lot of stuff going, but somebody has to do the research and figure out all the new stuff came out. What's worth it? You know, it might be the best tasting mango in the world, but if it fruits only once every 3 years and you only get 2 of them, it's not a viable. It might be great for a collector, but it's not viable for, you know, someone to grow it in a grove, or for a homeowner that wants to have, you know, they only have so much space. They want the tree that's going to produce regularly and what they like. You know, so what you're going to see is a big experiment. Like I said, this whole place is an experiment, and it's going to be changing and everything. Let's walk, and we'll kind of show you kind of what and why I'm doing. The trees are 15 feet apart within the rows, and the rows are 20 feet apart from row to row for the main trees.
Are they from seed or grafted?
Every one of these is grafted tree. If you want to know what the varieties are, you see the little white PVC pipe? Some of these got covered up. The white PVC pipe has the name of the variety. So that one's Sweet Tart there. This one's Cack, Harvest Moon, Lemon Meringue, Bolt. It goes on and on. There's 60 varieties, so I'm not going to go through them all. But
You top them young, don't you?
yeah, so I've been training these because I want to keep my trees a certain size. Because I'd rather not have to bring a ladder or a picking pole out here. It may be that I let them go a little bigger than they are now, but generally I'm trying to do my cuts how high I can reach. That's my rule of thumb. And I'm taller than you guys, so you might want to keep your trees this high. You know what I mean? I'm trying to prune them to have an open center and to have. You'll see there's a lot of tips when you cut them back. They'll make a lot of tips. So there's kind of this balance you want to strike between having lots of tips, which can produce flowers and fruit, and also having some openness in the middle of the tree so there's airflow to keep the fruit from getting too humid and dank and having fungal problems or bacterial problems.
And you get sunlight through all the
sunlight coming in will help stimulate the interior of the tree to fruit as well.
leaving on those sides.
And it'll also improve the color. Having sunlight on the fruit itself will improve the color.
Some big mangoes.
And it's really funny. Sometimes you'll notice a fruit will be emerged and a leaf will be laying over the side of it, and you'll see if you lift the leaf, it'll be a green stripe of where the light wasn't touching the fruit. And you'll notice it like really strikingly sometimes, like a branch crossed over and there'll be like a green line across the fruit. It looks funky, but it's just the photosynthesis, you know, whatever it is, sunburning, or I don't know exactly what's happening there. But so these first 4 trees are some of the first ones I planted. That's why they're bigger. And as we go that way, you'll see some of my youngest trees, and you can see kind of the difference in sizes. This one's called Harvest Moon. This is known to make a large fruit. It's really good, similar to a Kent mango. One of the issues with this one is that if we get a heavy rain, they do tend to split, which is one of the things I'm trying to evaluate, because most people in this area are in my situation or worse in some variant, either colder or lower or don't have as much mulch. So you know, planting your trees at grade where they get flooded, the tree can survive, but it may cause the fruit to all split, or it may water the taste out. So, and there's ones with shorter leaves. These ones I'll take off and replant or repot. These ones I'll leave to replace this stem, because this stem, when I take that fruit off, the original mommy stem is done, but she has all these growth nodes on the sides. She can pop out more pups, and usually one will be the dominant one that'll replace it in place. I've done a bunch of YouTube. If you guys follow me on YouTube, you've seen me talk about pineapples, and I have some funky propagation methods that I really like. I also have a pretty unique way of pest control for these. I use the toilet paper plant. You know what that is, the Plectranthus. I use the leaves of that to shove it underneath the bottom of the fruit when it starts to ripen. And so far I've had 100% success keeping the rats away from my fruit. On that middle one, it's starting to turn yellow. So that one's probably several days away from being fully ripe. And when it's fully ripe, a fully ripe pineapple will scream to you to pick it. It's like a highlighter yellow, and the smell will like just smack you in the face. You'll smell it from like 200 feet away. If you miss it, you haven't tuned in. You're missing something. It'll be so obvious that it's time to pick the fruit. It'll knock your socks off. The big thing is just the risk of like, do I let it get to that point? Because it's also screaming at everybody else. It's Mr. Raccoon, everybody come get me. Alright,
Yeah, I
so
like that,
this one's going to be a little risky. It's an early drop coconut cream. There's more than likely it's going to be sour, but I want to try it. So you guys are here. We'll give it a whack and see if it's halfway good. Known for having a strong coconut flavor. It looks good on the inside. But sometimes they'll look like this and have that little bit of a pale hue and be totally sour. So
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, she's more hip than I am. I've been.
it's mellow, but it tastes like coconut. I like them when it's a little bit more sour than this one has, but I like sweet and sour. You want to try it, Paul?
Sure.
This one's juicy though.
I like one called Fruit Cocktail, I think.
Oh, you like that one? Okay.
It's ripens green.
Uh-huh. Go for that. So that's coconut cream. This is a wildly popular variety. All right, so this is what it looks like when a pineapple ripens.
True golden.
There's not much green on there, right? Ideally, there would be no green. So we could even wait a little longer, or this could have sat on the plant for a couple more days. But there's always a risk. The longer you wait, the more intoxicating the smell, the more it attracts pests. There's a balance. So the way I do pineapples is I just twist the top off like that and save this to be replanted. And then you'll see really fancy ways of doing this. Like in Thailand, they really spend a lot of time on it. I don't do any of that stuff. The way I like to do it is just to cut the top off, cut the bottom off. You see the color? See how it's got some deep color to it? It's not pale. That's what you want out of this variety. I have other ones that are white flesh, and so the color isn't really telling you much, but in this case it's telling you something.
I think somewhere I've tried it yet where they actually pick the little nodes off and eat it one node at a time.
Yeah.
You roll it really hard.
They have to roll it hard, yeah. Break the
No, I've done that
cell
before
structure up.
with these. They just have to be all really, really
Super
ripe.
ripe.
Alright, so I can already smell it. Can you guys smell this thing?
Yeah.
I had a friend that bought like 4 white pineapples from Hawaii. Cost him $250.